Hey everybody, so the idea is that the student would have just completed watching that video with that song from Alabama, 40 hours a week, and then from there they're going to be hit with this question. It says, in the US, thousands of people do various jobs to contribute to the process of getting steak to your grocery store as cheaply as possible so that you can buy it if you so choose. Now, why do they do this? Is it A, that every one of these people cares deeply about you being able to have steak for dinner? Is it B, each one of these individuals just doing their jobs so they can make money for themselves and their family? Is it C, the government forces these people to perform these jobs and provide us with steak so that we can have a stable diet? Or is it D, that these people are trying to become the subject of a country folk song about hard work and cooperation? And ideally, the student would choose B, that each one of these individuals is just doing their jobs so they make money for themselves and their family. That's what most students choose when hit with this question in class before ever hearing these types of concepts. So with that in mind, that gets the perfect segue to this idea of the invisible hand principle. So in his book, The Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith talks about the tendency for people, while pursuing their own self-interest, to promote the economic well-being of society. In other words, the people who are working so hard out in the fields or in the factories to get products to your store in just the right quantities are usually just looking out for themselves in terms of trying to maximize their paycheck or attain money for themselves and their family. But they don't really care about you, the customer, getting these products as much, right? Having said that, they don't have to. They're still going to work as hard as possible to get the products to your store as cheaply as possible, right? Even if they don't care about you in particular, right? I always use the example of the waiter or the waitress. Like, do they care deeply about their customers, or do they care about maximizing their tips? Most people would say, well, they really care about maximizing their tips, but in order to maximize their tips, they have to at least pretend that they care about their customers, make sure that the service is fast and efficient, right, and that they're polite and courteous. So this leads us to a few quotes from Adam Smith on about the invisible hand principle, or the idea of this guided self-interest. He says, it is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interests. And that every individual necessarily labors to render the annual revenue of society as great as he can. He generally neither intends to promote the public interest, nor knows how much he is promoting it. He intends only his own gain, and he is in this, as in many other cases, led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was not part of his intention. Again, through the pursuit of their own self-interest, an individual is going to actually do what's good for society when they're really only looking out for themselves, is really what that quote is getting at. And the final quote is, by pursuing his own interest, he frequently promotes that of the society more effectually than when he actually really intends to promote it. I've never known much good done by those who affected to trade for the public good. So not only by promoting our own self-interest, we actually do what's better for society, but we might actually do what's better for society by pursuing our own self-interest than if we actually try to do what's good for society. Right? I'm reminded of a quote that says, ask not what the world needs, but ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. So with that in mind, let's watch this video clip here about the invisible hand principle. This comes from a former ABC News correspondent, John Stossel. He used to do these types of clips, and they're actually really good for economic lessons. Let's take a look at this one.
The reason we have all these products at a supermarket is that greed inspires millions of people all over the world to work together. Take this steak. How did this get here? It's sunrise in Manning, Iowa. At the Weiss farm, David Weiss is saddling up for another 14-hour workday. It's longer during calving season. There's so much work for the ranchers. Fixing fences, digging ditches, feeding the cows, harvesting hay. Why do they work so hard to get their beef to people like me in New York?
Do you think it's because they love people in New York? No, they love themselves. And by promoting their own self-interest, they make sure New Yorkers have beef. It's not because they care about New Yorkers, they care about themselves.
The Weisses are only the first of a series of people who, by caring about themselves, make sure I get my steak. There's Virgil Rosanke, who delivers the propane that heats the cattle's water.
They've got to drink water, and they can't drink frozen water.
Wanda Nelson keeps the packing house clean.
To make sure the plant is sanitized before we start production.
Then there are the people who slaughter the cattle, who cut the beef, the people who make their knives, their overalls, their protective gear, and the people who make the plastic that seals the meat and the machines that do the sealing. and the people who pack the meat in boxes, and the people who make the boxes and inspect the boxes.
You gotta check the boxes and make sure they don't get bad boxes.
Then there are the people who run the freezer facilities, the people who track orders by barcode, the people who make the barcode machines, and the truck driver, Randall Gilbert, who's hauling my steak to New York. Thousands of people have to work together to get the food to market. Are they doing all this for me?
No, I don't think of it that way.
No.
I think about making boxes and money.
Who's John Stossel?
I'm no one to Virgil Rasenki.
I never heard of him.
Virgil and all these other people don't really care if some TV correspondent gets his steak, yet they cooperate to make it happen, motivated by self-interest. Is that greed?
We're in the business just like everybody else, you know, to make money. Provide for my 3 boys, my wife.
Buys you a house, buys you really nice vehicles.
In a free market, you get more for yourself by serving your fellow man. You don't have to care about him, just serve him. And ask yourself, how much would get done if it all depended on human love and kindness? I feel sorry for New Yorkers in terms of beef. If it all depended on human love and kindness, I doubt whether you would have 1 cow in New York.
Probably right. And even if we don't like to admit it, self-interest, directed by the invisible hand of market prices, explains why steak gets to New Yorkers and why products arrive at your local supermarket in just the right quantities. Some 230 years ago, Adam Smith, the father of economics, pointed out that the invisible hand caused self-interested individuals to cooperate with others. Smith understood you don't need central planners. The invisible hand gets people to provide others with things that they value.
All right, so again, the idea behind this multimedia approach to teaching the invisible hand concept is you hit them first with the video, right, with those annotations in there, kind of explaining economic lessons along the way, and then you go over the concept, first introducing it with a question that they would answer using the Poll Everywhere technology, right, and then again going through the material and ending it with a short video clip like this to kind of drive the lesson home, right? So between the music, the interactive question, the lesson, and then the actual video clip here at the end, right? There's a bunch of different ways that the students can kind of acquire this material and then hopefully start kind of seeing economic lessons in other songs or video clips in the future. All right, so again, that's the idea behind my use of multimedia in the classroom. I've got a couple lessons worked out where it kind of follows this format of song, lesson, and video clip at the end with a question in between. Right, so hopefully I'll be able to get those finished here shortly as well. Right, but again, I'm not too big on using social media in the classroom, but multimedia I'm a big fan of, including music and video clips like this. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to any feedback that people might have. Thank you.